name's Daniel Tona. I'm a council member out in the city of Poughkeepsie, and we're out here with Mid-Hudson Valley DSA protesting President Trump's illegal unilateral war against the people of Iran. What's going on? United States and Israel dropping bombs on civilians, literally on schools, killing innocent people is just absolutely unacceptable. Millions, potentially billions of U.S. taxpayer dollars are going to be wasted on this illegal regime change war that the majority of Americans do not want. It doesn't make any of us any safer, and we need people to come out in the streets, rise up in their unions, organize in their tenant unions, and get organized and fight back against the war machine.
Thanks, June. Thanks, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for coming out today. Again, my name is Mia, and I'm a member of the Mid-Hudson Valley Democratic Socialists of America and a co-chair of our Palestine Liberation Working Group. And I want to begin just by briefly summarizing why we're all here and what we're here to demand, and then I'd like to just introduce the different groups that are co-sponsoring. So we're here to stop the war in Iran. We all know that on February 28th, the US and Israel launched a war on Iran. And since then, our government, in coordination with Israel, has bombed over 3,000 targets across Iran and has killed over 1,300 people. This war is causing violence and chaos across the Middle East, from Bahrain to Iraq to Lebanon. And so we're here to oppose the war. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk on the left about the legality of the war. We know that this war is illegal because Donald Trump launched it without congressional approval. And the fact that the president can unilaterally launch a war with Iran is terrifying and speaks to the lack of democracy in this country, which we urgently need to change. But the illegality of the war is not why it's unjust. This war on Iran is unjust because killing other people and taking over their country to expand our own power in the Middle East and in the world is unjust. This war is unjust because it's an act of US and Israeli imperialism. And we're here today to demand an end to US and Israeli imperialism, to demand an end to murder in our name, and to demand an end to the war machine. Okay, so I think that's basically why we're here, and today is an opportunity for us to learn about what's going on and to try to develop a shared political analysis in order to figure out what we can do to actually meet those demands. But before we get started, I'd like to thank the co-sponsors of this rally: Jewish Voice for Peace, Hudson Valley; Veterans for Peace; Mideast Crisis Response; Bard Students for Justice in Palestine; the African Roots Community Center; Indivisible, New Paltz; Newburgh Resists; Rally Middletown; the Hudson Valley Communist Party USA, and the Party for Socialism and Liberation, as well as New Paltz Young Democratic Socialists of America. It's really powerful and beautiful to see so many different organizations from across the Hudson Valley coming together to fight the war and to stand up for peace. So our first speaker has a long history of anti-war activism. He is a U.S. Army veteran and an organizer with Veterans for Peace and Middle East Crisis Response. So please welcome Tarek.
Thank you. And thank all of you for being out here. It's true this is an unjust war, but that's an understatement, unjust. But what you are doing and what people all over the world and in this country are doing by standing up, you're standing up for something just. And that's important. And you're going to remember that in the years to come. When this passes, and it will eventually, you will remember that you stood up here and look around at all the people here, because we're a community and we're together, and that's important. That's really important. Whether we stop the war or we don't stop it, it's important that we're standing up for what's right. Yeah. So everything that has come out of the Trump administration and the billionaires who support him, and Rubio and Hexas and Miller, and these people have been lies. The country has been lied to about everything. There is no excuse for this war. None. No. Zero justification for killing how many children in those schools? 200? There's no excuse for it. And there's no rationale that will support it. But I will tell you one thing, and this maybe will lift your spirits. The United States and its partner in crime, Israel, are going to lose. I'm going to tell you that's guaranteed. They are going to lose again. Just as they lost in Vietnam, just as they lost in every other place, every single war. They lose, but the people behind the wars continue to make money. The corporations, the billionaires profit from this, and they keep profiting from this. So we have to know who is behind this, and why are they behind all of this, which is destroying the planet. You know, and they're not only destroying it with wars, they're destroying it ecologically and with all the oil. And this is what the war is about, oil and gas. So I don't know what else to say. The whole thing makes me sick. And ever since I was a little kid, it's been war, 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 war. It's been wars. I was born during World War II. And then there was the Korean War. And then there was Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq. It doesn't stop because the corporate world, the corporate billionaires behind it keep making money. So we got to, one way or another, we got to stand opposed to that. And the fact that you're standing here and you are opposed to all of that and you see through the lies, it means something. Don't sell that short. You know, people ask you, well, did you stop the war? No, it's not the point. You stood up for something. Yes. You stood for all the oppressed people in the world. You stood for the people in Gaza. You're standing now for the people and the children in Iran and all over, and in Lebanon. You're standing for them. You're in solidarity with them, and that means something. So I thank you.
We're here to stand for something. We're here to show solidarity with Iran, and we're also here to stop the war. And we're here to stop the genocide in Gaza, and we're here to stop the pace of the climate catastrophe because we have to if we want to survive. And so I hope that today we'll be able to think a little bit about what we can do from where we are to try to meet those goals. Tarek raised a really important question. Why are we at war with Iran? I asked my students this, and some of them didn't even know that we were at war with Iran, but they definitely had no sense of why. The public justifications have been changing every day. They are very flimsy. First, it was because Iran was about to attack us. Then it was clearly revealed that that was not true. Then Marco Rubio said it was because Israel was about to attack Iran, and then Iran would attack us. And that is the reasoning of a drunk kindergartner, obviously, so nobody believes that. Sometimes it's suggested that it's because we want to create a democracy in Iran, but nobody believes that, even the Trump administration does not believe that that is the goal, and we know that imperialism never produces democracy. So why are we at war in Iran? And I think Tarek said it well. We're at war with Iran because the U.S. and Israel want to expand their power and influence in the Middle East. And we're at war with Iran because war is a profitable industry for the American defense industry and the capitalist class. Like the genocide in Palestine, this war on Iran is a class war. It's a war of the capitalist class on the working class of Iran, of the Middle East, and the United States. And so we're here today to reject the idea that we as working class Americans have anything to gain from war with Iran, and to demonstrate our solidarity with the working class in Iran and with the working class across the globe. No war but class war. No war but class war. No war but class war. Thank you. And please welcome our next speaker, Cheryl, who is a member of Eyewitness Palestine and the USA Palestine Mental Health Network.
Thank you, Mia. Thank you all for being here today. It's a chilly day, but we are hot. We are angry. We are furious at what's happening. This escalation of war in Iran is only 1 week old, and now every country in the Middle East is an active war zone. So make no mistakes, the United States of Israel is funding this war with our weapons, with our dollars. $2 billion every single day, our tax dollars. I don't think it's about oil. I don't think it's about nuclear weapons or even imminent threat. I do think it's about land grab. I agree with what Mia just said. But this whole thing of preemptive strike, self-defense, sound familiar? That's the same hasbara that's been that we've heard before. What this war is doing is it's unraveling the world order. This war is supporting the defense industry and corporations that profit from perpetual war making. Even right here in the Hudson Valley, we do have war profiters. Helmet in Kingston makes parts for fighter jets. Rotron in Woodstock makes components for military equipment. The threat is not from Iran, it's from our own leaders, many who are being paid by PACs, including AIPAC. AIPAC is lining the coffers of our representatives and our senators to the tune of thousands of dollars. You can walk down the halls of Congress, on how many of you have, and see the Israeli flag right next to the American flag. I'm tired of hearing this word unprecedented. This is not unprecedented. Think of Iraq, Afghanistan, Vietnam. Perhaps what is unprecedented is the level of cruelty and devastation. Our bombs have already killed more than 1,300 Iranians, upwards of 100 Lebanese. These attacks, as you know, are striking hospitals, schools, homes. Same playbook, same impunity. I have deep ties with the Palestinian struggle. Where the ripple effects were immediately felt, they immediately shut off the borders to Gaza again, not allowing aid in or anyone to go out in need of medical care. They shut down the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, and they're doing daily incursions into the West Bank. A friend of mine who lives and works in the Balata refugee camp in Nablus sent me a video last night of soldiers, Israeli soldiers, coming into the camp, escorting blindfolded men, kidnapping them. These weapons and the surveillance that's being used were trial tested in Palestine, and now it's being exported to Iran and to Lebanon. Is this unprecedented? No. But you know what is? The breadth of our movement, the fact that we're here on this cold day. Because we all know it's not a lack of laws that are stopping this war. It's the lack of political will to enforce those laws. So this war is not going to be stopped or won on the battlefields. It will be won by each of us in the streets and the voting booth. Solidarity means taking action. So while you're here, it's not enough just to stand here and listen to people like me. There are tables. Sign up. Sign up for those mailing lists. Come to these protests and vote. Vote these warmongers out of Congress. And that $5 you might have spent on your latte this morning, please donate to UNRWA. UNRWA is in Gaza and Palestine. That $5 would support a meal. So it's Ramadan. People in Gaza are fasting through a famine. People in the West Bank are praying through utter terror. Every day I think of my friends in Palestine. And if they can persist, so can we. They inspire me to keep the faith, not a blind faith, but a faith in the will of justice. We will not bomb our way out of this. No war, but class war. No king. Free Palestine, free Iran. Solidarity with the global South. Thank you.
Cheryl mentioned rightly that there's been a change, a shift in public consciousness around U.S. imperialism and around our involvement in Palestine, our relationship to Israel in the past few years.
as a result of all of the organizing that's happened against the ongoing genocide in Palestine. And that's true, and that's a win that I think we should own and remember, that there's been a massive shift in public opinion, especially amongst young generations, and that's because of the organizing that all of you have done over the past years. But the problem is how to translate that public consciousness into power. And that's what we really haven't succeeded at doing. And so I think we need to ask ourselves what it would take to stop the shipments of arms and component parts that are made even here in the Hudson Valley at Ametek Rotron, as Cheryl mentioned, right? What would it look like for us to actually have the power necessary to stop those shipments from going to Israel and to actually stop the war machine? And what would it look like for us from here in the Hudson Valley to break down the alliance between the U.S. and Israel that has wreaked so much violence and mass death on the world? And one way that we can do that from where we are is to support the movement to boycott, divest, and sanction Israel. And our next speaker is going to tell us about a campaign that is underway here in New York State in the Hudson Valley and that is actually winning things, which is the Break the Bonds New York State campaign. And so this is a campaign to divest our public pensions from Israel bonds, and it's one of several ways that we're going to hear about today that we can directly take action from where we are to kind of build the power that we need to translate public opinion into actually winning. So please welcome our next speaker, who is a New Paltz resident, an organizer with Jewish Voice for Peace, and a multi-faith spiritual director, Annie Rose.
Hey everyone, I'm Annie Rose, and I'm a proud queer diasporist Jew. Do you know what diasporist means? Little? It's a good one. It means I came up Jewishly right here in Ulster County, in the Woodstock Jewish congregation, and I refuse to place my sense of safety and spiritual wholeness in the ethno-state of Israel. My safety's right here with you. We know that this war is the inevitable extension of genocide in Palestine. The alliance between the U.S. and Israel is growing. The U.S. is not just supplying weapons, we're actively waging wars together. Give me a shout right now if you have stood here before opposing the genocide of Palestinians. I'm so sorry. We haven't been able to stop it. And I want to really look at you all and invite you to look at each other and just acknowledge how painful that is. It's 2.5 years. We have not been able to stop it. And our hearts are destroyed. Instead, the imperialist war machine is just going harder. Despite the fact that the majority of Americans, the majority of Jews are against it, there is no longer any pretense of winning public approval. As Mary was saying, right, like we've got more public approval, that isn't changing the power dynamics yet. They don't care if we oppose genocide. They don't care if we know that they are literally pedophiles. They don't care if we call their bluff that trans people in sports is not a problem. As a Jew, it's not, right? As a Jew, I know that waging war in the name of Jewish safety is anti-Semitic. Let me tell you, I'm actually an educator in anti-Semitism. There's a lot of data behind that statement. It is objectifying and instrumentalizing our existence against our will, and they will do this to any group if it serves their end goal. They will make your culture, your identity, another piece in their game of chess. It might have a different narrative hook, but the same end goal, to expand their power. What are some of the popular narratives that we're seeing right now in 2026? Trans people. Suddenly a threat for simply existing. Boom. immigrants suddenly the most urgent threat to U.S. existence. Muslims, who are the most racially, economically, and belief diverse religion in the U.S., are all considered potentially violent. And Black and Indigenous communities have been living under this deadly objectification tactic since this nation's very beginning. When you hear any identity group being talked about like a monolith, stripped of their full, nuanced humanity, it's a map in which all the lines connect. No one group can get that treatment without it bringing all of us down. You want to know how to not be anti-Semitic? Treat Jewish people like normal people, capable of love and responsible for their own hate, just like everybody else. AKA Bibi Netanyahu, screw you! So how can we act to stop the imperialist war machine? In New York State, we can break the bonds. New York State Comptroller Tom DiNapoli is running for re-election right now. And what has his response been to Palestinian genocide? He has exponentially increased investment in Israel bonds. Can you imagine? That's his response. He has in fact made New York State the top state donor to Israel. That's where we live right now. DiNapoli says it's because he loves Jews. We say bullshit. You can join, yeah, say it. Bullshit. Feels good. I'm going to ask you to pull out your phones and write this down. You can go to tinyurl.com/breakthebondsny. That is tinyurl.com, tinyurl/breakthebonds, like breaking the bonds, NY. This is a material financial action that we can take. We are making progress in this. Just last week, we interrupted a fundraiser at our own Frank Guido's for this dude. He's awful. It's actually really fun to piss him off. So join in. So do me a favor, everybody. Look away from me for a second and look at each other. Like literally, it's a little cheesy. Just humor me. Look at each other if you can hear my voice. It's time to start looking at each other differently. This is our team. This is our team. We don't all have to like each other. Look, we're all in Kingston. It's a small place. We know people can be annoying. Organizing is annoying. We don't have to like each other. We do have to love each other. The road ahead is going to ask even more of us, but we got this. No war in Iran, free Palestine, break the bonds. Enjoy this music for a few minutes. And I'm now honored to introduce our next speaker, who is a climate justice organizer, a champion of the working class in the State Assembly in Albany, and the hardest working socialist in the Hudson Valley, Assemblymember Sarahana Shrestha.
I hope I am all of your assembly members, but if I am not, you can consider me one. Okay, so my name is Sarahana Shrestha. I serve in the State Assembly, which is the lower chamber of the state legislature, where we make state laws and pass funding for the things that we need in the state. And of course, I am here to say, as somebody who is trying to make our government functional, that capitalism relies on permanent wars. It relies on making sure that the world's raw materials, that the world's resources, that the power is being concentrated in the hands of a few to sustain the same economic system that suppresses the working class at home. So these things are connected. Solidarity is not only a good idea, it is a great model for self-preservation for all of us. The things that are good for other people happen to be good for all of us, and that is the thing that we have to turn around if we are going to defeat fascism in this world. So, I grew up in Nepal. I grew up under a monarchy. I grew up under several uprisings for democracy, and I also grew up under a prolonged civil war that sustained itself because of just abject poverty that existed in the country, where people did not even have roads connecting them to other towns, to other cities, let alone the capital. And what I have seen is that military intervention and sanctions are not tools of democracy. They have never been, and they never will be, and in fact, it is the opposite. When you place sanctions on countries you are trying to supposedly hold accountable, when you bomb countries on the pretext of creating democracy there, you are doing the opposite. You are undermining people there who are trying to overthrow their dictatorship, the people there who are trying to fight for human rights, and anybody who tells you there is any remote chance that the countries, that the United States foreign policy of military intervention is rooted in the idea of democracy, we have two reasons not to believe that, which is the list of things that have happened so far in history, as well as the fact that we have the Trump administration right now, we have Israel right now, and we know both of those people leading those countries do not care about democracy abroad or at home. So to think that they are doing anything because they care about women's rights, because they care about equality for all, as we all know, is bullshit. It's bullshit. We're not stupid. We're not idiot. We know this is about oil, but we also know that Trump is acting at the behest of Israel, and that Israel is using the United States for all of the violence that it wants to inflict on innocent people. So that is what we are opposed against. We are opposed against this permanent policy of war and sanctions. We reject that our concern for the Iranian people depends on supporting this illegal war. We reject that premise. And we also demand that no matter who is the president, no matter which party is in the White House, we do not support this policy of sanctions. We want a policy of a world where foreign policy means sharing resources, sharing medicine, sharing technology, collaborating on solving these huge problems that we all need to solve together. And that's the kind of politics that we are trying to build, that we can build at the state level, at the local level. I would just say, being a politician in Albany is a very depressing career choice, okay? But the only reason I am there is because there is no shortcut to this work. It happens in the very boring, very frustrating, very limiting fights at the policy level, because again, we're talking about what the state laws are, we're talking about where we want to put in money, and what we want to do is we want the movement to exist on the outside, because we are not legislatively going to solve any of these problems alone, right? It needs to be legislation, but it also needs to be the movement on the outside. What kind of culture we are building on the outside, those two things need to go hand in hand to change our world. But I will tell you, on the inside, it's very boring grunt work, but it needs to be done. I firmly believe that it is things like universal healthcare, universal childcare, permanently affordable homes. Those are the kind of things that are going to bring people together. That is the biggest weapon we have against this idea that everything is the fault of immigrants. Everything is the fault of other countries. Everything is the fault of certain languages and certain races. That is the division that we are working to flip on its head, and I do believe we can do that Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So thank you so much for having me, and thanks for believing. I always like to say that being optimistic is not the same thing as being hopeful, and when you're hopeful, it means you're being disciplined. Thank you so much.
Let's warm up and do just a few small chants, shall we? Okay. We want justice, we want peace, U.S. out of the Middle East. We want justice, we want peace, U.S. out of the Middle East. We want justice, we want peace, U.S. out of the Middle East. We want justice, we want peace, U.S. out of the Middle East. Okay, we're trying to... No boots on the ground, no bombs in the air, U.S. out of everywhere. No boots on the ground, no bombs in the air, U.S. out of everywhere. No boots on the ground, no bombs in the air, U.S. out of everywhere. No boots on the ground, no bombs in the air, U.S. out of everywhere. All right, one more. This is not my favorite part of singing. Okay. When Tehran is under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back. What do we do? Stand up, fight back. What do we do? Stand up, fight back. When Palestine is under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back. What do we do? Stand up, fight back. What do we do? Stand up, fight back. When Cuba is under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back. What do we do? Stand up, fight back. What do we do? Stand up, fight back. When immigrants are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back. What do we do? Stand up, fight back. What do we do? Stand up, fight back. Thank you. All right. So we are now going to hear, unless did Miss Ann make it? Is Miss Ann here in the house? If not, then we are going to be privileged now to hear from another organizer with Middle East Crisis Response, which is a group of Hudson Valley residents who've been organizing to support human rights for Palestinians and to oppose U.S. aggression in the Middle East since 2006. Please welcome Felice Gelman. Here she is. Great.
I bet I can find somebody to hold. As Mia said, I'm here on behalf of Middle East Crisis Response. There are some other people here who are part of Middle East Crisis Response. We have been educating people, we have been mobilizing people about U.S.-funded Israeli aggression since the 2006 Israeli attacks on Gaza and then Lebanon. Wait a minute, what is Israel attacking today? Okay, it has taken 20 years for the American public to understand that the security establishment in the U.S. and Israel have used Palestine as a proving ground for the imperial domination of the Middle East, for aggression against our neighbors in the Western Hemisphere. And now, the security state is actively attacking our local communities, terrorizing people, killing people, kidnapping them, and holding them in concentration camps. We are angry. I'm angry. I had to write down what I had to say because otherwise I would be incoherent. I am so angry. We have had more than enough. We've mobilized in solidarity with people in Gaza, the suffering people of Gaza. We have mobilized to support the people being persecuted in our own communities. But this unprovoked attack on Iran shows me, and I think all of us, that this fight has just begun. The attack on Iran violates the U.S. Constitution. It violates international law. It violates the political and human rights of people everywhere. And we know that there cannot be any peace without justice. So as Sarah Hannah so aptly said, sanctions and war have never brought peace. They've never brought democracy. They have never overthrown oppressive regimes. They may have overthrown individuals, but they have created oppressive regimes, not overthrown them. So I want to say our problem is not with Iran. nor with its ayatollahs. Our problem is the two ayatollahs in the U.S. and Israel who are attacking Iran, Trump and Netanyahu. They have hijacked our government, our army, armed forces, our security. They have hijacked it. They are stepping over, or maybe on, the cowardly politicians in Congress who have enabled every step in the growth of the U.S. security state. Do not forget that the people who we have elected have voted for the Patriot Act, the war in Iraq, the war in Afghanistan, the sanctions on Iran, the war in Gaza, arming Israel with billions of dollars. We didn't get to this point by accident. This has been at least a 25-year process of creating a military force and a security state that will attack everyone in the world. And the corrupt and feckless politicians of both parties who voted trillions of dollars for so-called defense, who supported the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, who voted billions of dollars in military aid to Israel, set the stage. And by the way, in the course of doing so, they eliminated our health care. They saddled students with billions of dollars in student debt. They ended up creating a financial crisis in 2009, which all of the rest of us are still paying for. So now, what do we have? We have these two ayatollahs, Trump and Netanyahu, as cult leaders. They believe that God is on their side and they're accountable only to themselves. And I am not making this up. This is what they and their cult believe. And it's our job to show them otherwise. We have to take action. We can't wait for elections that may or may not take place. We have to demand accountability from our political representatives. We have to organize our communities in opposition. We have to find every opportunity to shut down the war machine with strikes, with boycotts, and other civil actions. Let today just be the beginning. What do we say? We say, don't stand back, fight back. Say it with me. Don't stand back, fight back. Don't stand back, fight back. Stand back, fight back. And thank you for being here.
Thank you to our amazing musicians who just really bring the spirit to the rally. We really appreciate you. We have one more speaker, and before I introduce her, just want to bring us back to the question of, we've been talking about a lot about what's happening and why it's happening, to think a little bit about what we can do to change what's happening. I'm not very good at chanting, but I am good at quotes. And I wanted to share a quote that I think is really important to remember in this moment. Does anyone know Amilcar Cabral, who was a Cape Verdean anti-colonial organizer and political theorist? And he wrote, "Tell the people no lies, claim no easy victories." Tell the people no lies, claim no easy victories. I think this is a really important message to remember in a time where we know that a lot is very wrong, but we don't really know how to access power. A protest like this today is really important for building consciousness, for building community, for building a political analysis, but by itself, we know that it's not going to stop the war. So we have to be honest with ourselves about where our power does and does not lie. You know, even if Congress had passed the War Powers Resolution, that would have been good and it would not have stopped the war. We should lobby our elected officials, and that by itself will not stop the war. It will not stop the war machine. It's easy for us to see the power of the capitalist class. Their power is in their ownership of the means of production, their ownership of the weapons manufacturing companies, of big tech, of the social media platforms that we use to even know what's going on. But where is our power, is my question. I guess I'd like to hear, where is our power? In boycotting, where else? Strikes, excellent. Divestment, yes.
So our power is in mass action, right? Our power is in large numbers of people shutting it down. It is in our labor. It is in our rent, right? It is in our cooperation with the system. If we withdraw our power in big enough numbers in a coordinated way, we can stop the war machine. We can stop the genocide. We can stop climate catastrophe. We can win socialism. We do have an enormous amount of potential power as the working class. We just haven't figured out how to access it. And so what it would require for us to access it is for us to understand where it is, for us to have build the kind of organization that we need in order to cooperate with each other while withdrawing our cooperation from the capitalists. And our next speaker is going to talk a little bit about solidarity, which is what we need in order to access the power that is at our fingertips. So I'd like to introduce our final speaker, who is a Lebanese-American photographer, filmmaker, and community organizer, Shadia.
Oh, wow. It's really beautiful to see you all. After 2 years of genocide, I feel like I've said all the words I know how to say. And I can't bring you the sound of my cousin's laughter at 2 in the morning when his English gets bad and my Arabic is worse. Or the smell of Beirut in the morning. This mix of diesel fuel and baking bread, fresh herbs, and this horrendous smell of garbage and this intoxicating smell of flowers. And I can't bring you the feeling in my chest when my teta sister, who was like a second teta to me, a second grandmother, she said to me all those years ago, "I knew I loved you on the day I met you because you were crazy like me." I've been thinking a lot about family separation as a tool for this empire. And I've been trying to get back to this place that I call home for 2 years. When my second daughter was 4 months old and my second teta was diagnosed with terminal cancer, I was putting all the pieces together. You know, I had always thought when she died, I would be there. When I imagined her funeral, I was there. But Israel started bombing Lebanon relentlessly, and I just couldn't. On this weekend, 7 years ago, my good friend Sawatu Salamara was unjustly incarcerated. And she was taken from our community. And I'm gonna wait for a second. She was taken from our community and she left behind an almost 3-year-old daughter, and she was pregnant at the time. And it was one of the most devastating moments of my life. And at that same weekend, so crazy. What was the astrology that weekend? We'll have to find out. But my cousin was supposed to come to the United States for the first time. He was flying from Lebanon, and I had texted him that day. I said, "I can't wait to see you in the morning." And he spent 7 hours in the Newark airport, and then they deported him. And I keep thinking about this family separation and how it's this river that runs through the veins of this country from when it started, from this country, not the lands that are sacred here. And how whether it's indigenous children that were taken from their families into boarding homes and forcibly, violently assimilated, or whether it was black folks, enslaved black folks in this country, their children, their mothers, their uncles, their aunties, their fathers taken again and again and again, or now, in this moment, with our immigrant kin taken from our communities, stolen from their families, or the prison system, which is alive, which has slavery alive and well today, or in Iran, or Palestine, or Lebanon, where we see our families on tiny screens, or we don't see them at all when they are annihilated again and again and again. Just as this heinous history, this heinous practice of separating our families, of trying to break us apart and make us broken, has existed, so too have people been a living antidote to this system. And we are being asked now to stand in that lineage, to be a part of that legacy. 7 years ago, my friend was taken from our community, and she was given a mandatory 2-year sentence. So that meant she was supposed to stay trapped in this system while her daughter grew up and her son grew up. And yet we formed a freedom team around her, and we organized hundreds of organizers across the state. And she got out in 6 months instead of those 2 years. And I know that's like, it's not like what's happening in Iran is not that, but it is like all of the violence that we are facing is a part of this same machine. And so too, our pain is linked, so is our liberation. And so we have to ask ourselves, what are we willing to do and what are we willing to sacrifice in these moments? What are we willing, how are we willing to show up, not just here in this space where we feel the community, but also what are we willing to shut down? What weapons factories are we willing to shut down? Which ports are we willing to stop the spread of this war machine? I just want to remind us that we keep us safe. We keep us whole. We fight for each other or we fight for nothing. And so I want you all to maybe find someone that you didn't come with, and just, you don't have to look into each other's eyes if that's not your thing. But if it is your thing, you can totally do it. And just like turn to like a neighbor next to you that you maybe didn't come with and just say, I just want to like have us say these things together. I don't see anyone turning toward each other. You got this, you guys. I know it's a little weird, but we got to organize, you know? Okay, so you're going to say, yeah, you can introduce yourselves. That's reasonable. It's reasonable. And then you're going to say to each other, we keep us safe.
We keep us safe.
And I will fight for you.
I will fight for you.
And that's it. I know it's cheesy. I know you're feeling a little cringe. You're like, that's so weird. But it's like, if we can't do that, how are we going to shut down the weapons factories nearby, you know? So that's it. I will actually end with a little song. Since I'm the last speaker, I'll just do it. So I was traveling in Ireland not that long ago, and I went to this place which was like this stone circle, this ancient stone circle that's been there for thousands of years. There's some people in this place that have actually already heard me sing this, so hopefully they like this song. It's very short. But I went to this place because the book was like asking us to be in a different relationship with the land. And I was just like walking around these stone circles, and I didn't write this song. The song just like came out of me. It was just like the words just came out. The land wrote this song. And so I know this moment is actually asking us to not only be in a different relationship with each other, but a different relationship with the land. And the land is where all of this starts. And so we need to be protecting this land and protecting our ability to be on this land with each other. And so here we go. I am thankful, I am grateful for every passing day. Oh, the way you say her name, and I'm calling out the same. I am grateful, I am thankful for the singing of the breeze. Oh, it's kissing on the trees, and I'm falling to my knees. I am grateful, I am thankful for the stones pulled from the earth, all them guiding my path. Oh, every time I ask for remembering the names that we forgot to say, for nourishing our souls when we didn't even know. I am grateful.
Thank you, Shadia. That was really beautiful. So just to conclude, our power lies in mass action. Mass action is shutting it down. Large numbers of people withdrawing their labor, withdrawing their rent, shutting down the system to force change. And the most iconic example of mass action that we've been hearing about a lot lately is the general strike. General strike. Who's ever been part of a general strike before? Some people have. That's amazing. We need a general strike, and we've seen recently in Minneapolis, not a general strike exactly, but maybe the outline of a general strike, what a general strike could look like. On January 23rd, 75,000 Minnesotans went out into the streets, and many hundreds of businesses shut down to push ICE out of the state of Minnesota. And a week later, that action inspired mass protests across the country, including here in Kingston. And that all was not yet a general strike, but what happened on the 23rd in Minneapolis was a disruptive mass action that did have an effect, right? And that is one example of what we mean when we say mass action, what it would look like for us to access the power that we have as working class people. Another example that I just want to share, because there's so much that that feels hopeless about this moment. I think it's important to notice where power is emerging, is the dock workers in Italy and France who over the past couple of years have actually successfully blocked weapons shipments to Israel in solidarity with Palestinian workers. Woo! In June of 2025, 68% of the Swedish dock workers union voted to approve a 6-day boycott of all military cargo to and from Israel. That's amazing, and that's real power. And can you imagine what it would look like if we could do that in every union across the world? We could stop the genocide. We could stop the war machine. But it's important to know that those examples of mass action were not spontaneous. They were the product of decades of organizing. So the only reason that happened in Minneapolis, that 75,000 people went out in the street with less than a week's notice and so many businesses shut down, was that they have a very strong labor movement that also has strong relationships with many other political organizations in the city. It's an organized city. And so if we want to have an actual general strike, and we want to be part of it from here in the Hudson Valley, we have to get organized. And there are no shortcuts. So we can't, it's not a thing that we can pull together the day of. It's a thing that we have to be preparing for years. And how do we prepare? It's not glamorous. We organize our workplaces. So we form unions, or we join our labor unions, and we make them democratic and we make them militant. We organize the places where we live. We form tenant unions, or we join tenant unions if they exist already, and we make them militant and democratic. And we join political organizations, like all of the organizations that you've heard from today. And as a member of DSA, I'll make a pitch for you to join DSA, join Democratic Socialists of America, which is the largest socialist organization in this country. It's a real mass organization that's democratically run and member funded, and that does a lot of work to coordinate the kind of labor organizing and tenant organizing that we need to have a general strike, which is what we should be working towards. So you should have gotten one of these handouts, or they should be available maybe on the table over there. And again, it's not glamorous, and nobody likes doing these things because people are annoying and frustrating, and it's really hard to make change and build any kind of power. But if we want to stand in solidarity with the people of Iran, we need to organize our workplaces, and we need to organize our neighbors. And so there are some links here for you to reach out to the Emergency Workplace Organizing Committee, which can help you figure out how to unionize your workplace, and to the Hudson Valley Tenants Union, which can help you figure out how to organize where you live. And also there is a link to join DSA, and there is a link to donate to an emergency relief fund for Lebanon. These are all ways that we can tangibly, immediately where we are, directly take steps to build the kind of solidarity and power that we need to stop the war machine. So I want to close out with just one more chant. Hopefully I can get this one. And so it's about power. And so it goes like this. Who's got the power? We got the power. What kind of power? People power. Who's got the power? We got the power. What kind of power? Labor. Labor power. Who's got the power? We got the power. What kind of power? Tenant power. Okay, so let's do all three. All right, who's got the power? We got the power. What kind of power? People power. Who's got the power? We got the power. What kind of power? Labor power. Who's got the power? We got the power. What kind of power? Tenant power. Hell yeah. Okay, and one more. We all know this one. The people united can never be defeated. The people united can never be defeated. The people united can never be defeated. All right. Can never be defeated. Okay, and we will not be defeated, and we will win. And I think that it brings us to the conclusion of our program. Thank you so much for coming out, and see you at the next meeting.